Hello, all you hobgoblins. This is Trevor.
And this is Jacob, and you are listening to Wizards 73.3 Podcast Radio.
The podcast for all things TTRPG. And welcome to session 3.
Character creating.
The most fun aspect. I'm lying. I despise character creation on so many levels. What's your least favorite part about it? And this is going to be controversial. Mine's background.
Mine, I don't think it's controversial. I can see it. It is daunting, background. And I think...
Not for creating it as a player.
No,
from a DM
from
perspective.
a DM perspective, exactly.
Because you don't want to disappoint your players by not including parts of their backstory.
Right.
But sometimes it's hard to work
well,
in.
You don't... Well, here's my issue with it, is you have a character, probably... Assuming new to D&D. Once you play a couple campaigns, I think you kind of get the gist. Hopefully. But, I think, it's just shitty when a guy's really excited about their character, someone's really excited about their character, they're like, here's their backstory. And, I don't mind reading the pages that I'm handed, right? But I do mind when you... tell me your character, who's, as at the beginning of the campaign, currently a no one, right? You're at the 0. You're not the hero yet, but you're like, I've slayed 7 dragons. And you're like, pseudo-dragons? Someone's familiar?
Quasit.
Yeah. And they're like, no, I've slayed all types of chromatic dragon and a platinum dragon. And you're like, hey, no, you didn't.
Yep. This starts at level 1.
I'm like,
buddy.
okay, you have 13 hit points.
Thing.
You have 13 hit points. Max. Yep. No, you didn't. You did not slay dragons. And, maybe the character has amnesia, and, you can work your way up to that. And, I know for me...
There's a way to work that in, but it's just... The payoff for it is so long in the making.
Yeah, it's... When you start on a high like that, and then your first, for some campaigns, 20 sessions, and you're still getting into the story.
Not even that. Let's say that you did, right? Mm-hmm. In the past, you've got amnesia right now, but in the past, you were a hoss of a dragon slayer.
Yeah.
And you forget who you are. You forget that you did that.
Yeah.
And the first interaction you have with a kobold goes terribly wrong.
Yeah.
And you're murdered. That's just so bad. Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah.
I find it hysterical, but
it's just not rewarding though.
No, it's not.
Because you're like, I have this super cool dude, it can be as small as oh, I only use a trident. And then let's say your first combat situation, you're like, oh, I rolled a 5. Does that hit? No. Okay. Well, now it's 3 attacks later and you've missed with your specialty excited weapon. It doesn't have to be a magical trident. It could literally just be, this is what I want to use.
But for the record, it was said that they only use a trident. Never said that they were proficient.
That's and that's
they're not
true.
Good at it.
But I hate the idea of diminishing someone's character within the first few sessions. I feel like it's not fun for the player. And depending on your friends, it's fun to joke around with them, but obviously, if they're new, right? Because that's the players that do that kind of thing the most.
Yeah.
It sucks to,
It's disheartening.
It is disheartening. It sucks. I would hate to, oh, here's my guy, I'm excited for him. He's not that crazy, but,
especially as a first foray into D&D, if you're, super hyped about it.
The first session someone does, period.
Yep.
Your first session will make or break whether you want to continue playing or not. And that is why it is so important that a DM is on the side of the player. I don't ever view, when I DM, it is never me versus the player.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to pull punches.
No, but you're not out for blood constantly.
No. And
I think that's an incorrect way of DMing, and I feel like people will probably fight me on that one, but
Probably, but like,
everyone's
if
there to
you
have fun.
if you play like that, take
Careful.
a second during that. If you play like that, take a second during those situations when you're against your players, and let me know if your friends are having as much fun as you are.
Yep.
Just take that second, because the point of all this is to have fun at the table with
For
friends.
everyone.
For everyone. And honestly, I get excited when my players are winning, right? There's a couple moments where I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I definitely want to use Power Word Kill on you and just watch you collapse.
Just
But
end your existence.
yeah, but like, that's what I want to do. Final boss fight.
Yeah.
You know, when it matters. You lived the life. You saved a friend. You know, I'm not gonna put players in front of a Lich level 5
No.
and be like, good luck.
Level 1. You guys are all in a bar. A dragon's attacking the town. Stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
Dragons use their breath weapons.
Unless
That is an instant kill.
And
Because it doesn't matter how well you do on your save, right?
yeah,
You're
as a
dying.
level 1,
Because
yeah,
at level 1, you're taking a lot of damage.
yeah.
That's it.
Even from a young adult dragon.
Yep. It's
Like
just done.
What campaign is the Dragon of Icefire Hold?
Yep.
There's a table in that campaign where you roll a d20, and depending on what that d20 lands on, the dragon shows up.
Yeah.
Which can make for interesting points, right? But like, it also specifies that the dragon comes in, breathes his weapon, and leaves.
Yep.
Which can be very scary, and they do it well because it's supposed to produce that fear.
Yep. But it also doesn't have to hit the players.
Yeah.
So it gives you the leeway. But if you're the DM
Mhm.
and they're level 1 or 5 or whatever, right?
You have to take that kind of
and
stuff
it
into
flies
account.
in, and you're like, oh yeah, everybody roll.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
mean,
like-
I hate to say it, you're kind of you're being kind of a bad person.
Yeah, it's not. Because then it's not fun. It's like,
no.
and that fight at the end of that
Awesome.
starter, it's fun.
Awesome.
That fight is
It's
fun.
a great fight. It's fantastic.
But like, you need to, as a DM, like the people at your table care about their characters, right? That's why they put time into it, because they want to play. Just like you, if you homebrew, you put time into your story, and I know you guys panic if one of your players does something that's totally out of whack. And like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing for everyone. It's your baby. You know, you care about it.
I
But
feel like we kind of digressed a little bit on that one.
yeah,
but-
absolutely. We kind of went on a
whatever.
tangent there. But anyway, creating a character.
Back to the
The
actual
overall
episode.
creating of the character.
I love that now it is literally a step-by-step IKEA furniture, how to put your
Yeah.
character together manual.
It is nice. And
It's
like,
so well laid out.
the table in step 1, choose a class.
Yep.
Class overview. Literally says class, barbarian, likes, battle, primary ability, strength, complexity, average.
Yep.
Sweet. So like,
Basic.
brand new players can be like, hey, I want to play a warlock. The DM doesn't have to break their heart. They can open this book and be like, ooh, I want to play a warlock. Ooh, complexity is high. All right, let me jump down to ranger then.
Maybe not,
Maybe not
but
ranger.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll cover that later.
Oh, we'll get there.
We will.
Like, oh yeah, let me do fighter. Easy.
Yeah. Fighter's
Or
great.
like-
Fighter's great. Dude.
You know, I know it's my first campaign. Maybe I'll do cleric. That's average.
Barbs are great.
Yeah.
Gotta love a good barbarian.
So, yeah,
One thing that I really enjoy in this is that they list it out via steps.
yeah, literally says step 1.
One thing that I think I mentioned, I noticed something in this chapter that I didn't notice previously.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly certain that, correct me if I'm wrong, how many languages do you know when you create a character?
I think
Like, with the exception of a feat.
so. Typically, when you create a character, you get at least 1 extra language.
So 2.
So 2 to start. You have, I mean, if you start as an elf, you're gonna know Elfish in common. And then maybe if, unless your character sheet specifies, that's really it.
So guess what, Goober? 3. Your character knows at least 3 languages. Common, plus 2 languages that you roll or choose from the standard languages table.
Interesting.
So, it's the standard, right?
Right.
So, common, sign language. Love that they have that in here.
Yeah.
Like, that's so nice. And I think that's kind of a necessary thing for any adventuring party. Because think about it from a tactical perspective.
Yeah.
You're all prisoners. You can just communicate.
Yeah,
and
without
the odds of
anyone hearing
the odds
you.
of people choosing that, very slim.
Yeah.
Very slim. But it's there now, which is great.
Yeah, I agree.
Draconic, Dwarvish, Elvish, Giant, Gnomish, Goblin, Halfling, Orc, right?
Yeah.
All standard, cool, great. The rare languages, though, that is different.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I like about the standard languages table, right? Because you have step 1, and then it goes into step 2, determining origin.
Yep.
And that's where you find languages. And what I like about that, and if you think about it this way, if you look at the standard languages tab, like the little, what you just read off, it says 1d12.
Yep.
If you need help creating your character's origin, you don't even have to pick a language that you like. You can just, if you're new to D&D, roll a d12, and maybe, why do you know that language? And that allows you to deep dive into,
Or better yet, right? You don't necessarily need to take the steps in order, right? I'm struggling with figuring out what race to play.
Mm-hmm.
Roll a d12.
Yeah, you could do that.
Guess what? You're playing an elf. Oh, you're playing a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
You're more likely to play a dwarf or an elf, I guess,
Yep.
or a halfling. So,
but, it helps in a lot of ways to do that.
Right.
One of the things about this that kind of throws me, right, is, and I know that you're going to have an issue, right?
Right.
I love the fact that they added in that D&D assumes, de facto, that player characters aren't of an evil alignment. Check with your DM before making an evil character. Because we've all known that one person that's like, I'm gonna play a serial killer or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
That just throws off everything.
You're like, I don't care what my DM's doing. I'm playing the Dark Urge playthrough.
Yeah, right?
At my table this weekend.
Terrible. But I love how they list out every single alignment in such a concise way.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Yeah, they do a lot.
I know that you're not big on alignments.
Here's my thing with alignment. Okay. Allow me to go on another tangent. My thing with alignment is that...
Buckle in, guys. This is about to be a 40-minute conversation.
This is what I hate about it, right? What alignment would you put a golden retriever under? Your standard house dog.
Probably... either lawful good or chaotic good.
Exactly.
Because if anybody has had a golden retriever, you know that they're just good. Like that, they're not gonna be evil, right? That doesn't matter.
It's not in its nature.
But they're either the most obedient things, and they're sweet in the best, I guess, order following way. They're just the dog.
They're just happy to be there.
They're the dog.
Yeah.
Chaotic good, though. But there are also golden retrievers, yours included.
Yeah.
That they will shower you with love no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
No matter what the situation
where you're
is.
Standing.
You do not get a say. It is just chaos incarnate.
Right. But here's my thing, right? Is that's what you would put a, kind of your standard dog under,
yep.
Right? But the sad truth, right, without getting into hyper detail, if it is a sensitive topic for people,
It's a sensitive topic for you. I don't know if it's a sensitive topic
I'm not
for
getting
others.
into it. The fact of the matter is there are some dogs out there that don't have that, like, switch to be a good dog. There are dogs who are aggressive. There are dogs that are territorial.
But that has nothing to do with breed, right? If we're getting into that conversation.
Well, no, but that I'm saying in general, right? Yeah. And I brought up a golden retriever because that immediately goes to that good alignment that I was looking to pull you into, essentially, right? And any dog can be bad, but most dogs are good. So, like, what I'm getting at is that I think alignment is stupid in the fact that if you categorize everything of that species or that type into one alignment, I don't think that's fair to speak to all of them. Because for some reason...
But I'm not saying that there aren't exceptions. There's obviously exceptions.
Right. But I agree with that in the same sense that, like, you know, I think there's, like, red dragons, chaotic evil, right? Mm-hmm. You know, maybe there is a red dragon out there that's just doesn't roll like that.
But that's the thing. That's cool. And there's nothing about alignments that says that's not the case.
But that's why I hate to categorize one thing into a single alignment.
But that's why
because there's some DMs out there.
To the rule exist.
Right. But here's the thing. That's why there's some DMs out there who are like, well, its alignment is evil, so I don't care who it is, what it is, or how it acts. Everything that is this is evil. Period. For instance, and this is a good example in my opinion, mind flayers, right? They are lawful evil.
Yep.
Right? They are intelligent creatures, and they're evil. Baldur's Gate 3, and I know we've brought this up now a couple times, right? But I don't know how you guys feel about the Emperor in the game. I never liked him, but the way the game plays is that he is, unfortunately, I still don't believe it, he is on your side.
So...
For the most part.
But here's the thing.
Unless you turn on him, which I
lawful evil, right? They take what they want within the limits of a code of tradition, loyalty, or order. Mm-hmm. And it says in the player handbook, right? Mm-hmm. An aristocrat exploiting citizens while scheming for power is probably lawful evil.
Okay.
So, the important thing, right, about this is that there are, and this is, I do not want to spoil anything about that game for those of you who have not played it. There are endings or expositions that happen that tell you that he might not be on your side for the reasons that you think. So,
I guess what I'm trying to get at...
You're trying to say that if something's on your side, right, then it necessarily shouldn't be lawful evil. There's nothing about that is true, though, because you can be really manipulative. You can be scheming and using people, and that might be to their benefit.
Yeah.
But it's for you.
I guess. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think to categorize everything under a single tab of that race, species, creature, monster, whatever, is unfair. I just, I think there's good in most things. I think just as equally bad in some things. I don't think everything, I don't look at people are a perfect example. What do people fall under? Neutral? I guess that's kind of...
So, here's the thing. Neutral. Good. Mm-hmm. Evil. There's a blend for those.
Right.
And that is why, you can bring it to a macro sense. And you can say, most people are probably neutral. They just do what seems best at the time. Mm-hmm. That, I don't think that you would argue that most people fall into that category. That, the human race in general falls under that category. right?
Mm.
But let's take a look, and let's say Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer was neutral evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's very nicely. Oh, you said neutral evil. Sorry,
Yeah,
I thought you said
neutral
lawful evil for a second. I was like, oh man, I think
No,
we should
neutral
probably
evil,
stop right
because
now.
He robbed and murdered as he pleased. Neutral evil.
Yeah.
But there are other people, right, who just give everything to everybody all the time, and that's their entire existence.
Yeah.
So there's a macro and then there's a micro level. So classifying a race as lawful evil,
like orcs,
I
think it's totally wrong.
But here's the thing, right? Macro versus micro. I think there's nothing wrong with putting an alignment on a species in D&D. There's nothing to say that you can't play as a good goblin or a good kobold. Nothing.
But here's my issue for the,
for the macro level stuff?
There's some DMs out there.
Yeah, they'll just take the macro
the
as the micro.
No, there is no micro for them.
That's what I just said.
It's, nope, this thing is evil. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's no talking your way, for the bards out there. There's no talking your way out of it. And then it's what's the point of having a 16, 17 charisma and not using your persuasion ability?
Mm-hmm.
It just, I don't know. I think there's always an opportunity to fight something. I think there's also an equal opportunity to talk your way out of stuff.
Yeah, 110%. But that's not, I think that you're taking a minority example and that you had a bad experience with, and you're conflating it to the entire topic of alignment.
You're maybe right. I
don't think there's anything wrong with that. You're experiencing trauma from a bad D&D session or two. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
And there's nothing wrong with needing a little bit of therapy.
Yeah, no, it's just
sponsored by BetterHelp. Just kidding. I think that alignment is. It's a good way to make sure that role play takes place.
Yeah.
It is a core part of anybody.
Yeah.
An individual person, right? At their core, they are one thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're either neutral, good, evil, whatever, right?
Right.
But that's their core. If you are a demon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your species is evil.
Yeah.
But you at your core, there might be something different about you, right?
Maybe. I see what you mean.
That's your core. If you are playing as a good demon or a good goblin, that's exactly what you want for alignment. I think you're making the same mistake that those DMs that you're talking about make.
Maybe.
Because you're saying we shouldn't have alignments because everything is going to be
Look who's going on
different.
A tangent now.
Yeah, but you're saying that if everything in a species is going to have an alignment, you don't agree with that because there's exceptions, right?
Right.
But the only reason that you think that there aren't exceptions already is because of the bad experiences that you've had. There's nothing to say in alignment that a red dragon can't have a good alignment. As a species, macro, they're evil. But you might find a good one.
Yeah.
And I think that you're taking it in the opposite way.
Maybe.
You're saying an alignment for this person can't be different because the alignment for the species is that opposite.
Right. Let's move on.
I'm sorry.
You thought I was going to go on a tangent. You wouldn't shut up just now.
I'm sorry. But, I don't know. I like it. Is there anything else in this chapter that caught your eye? Because...
I'm trying to remember the next personality traits. Oh, that's going over alignment.
Yep. No,
Okay.
after that, it goes into...
Fill in details.
Yeah, and level advancement, which I think
Yeah.
is a fun thing, because I think that we were just talking about this. Entire experience in D&D has been, at this point, milestone leveling.
Yes.
And I kind of like
I'm going to go ahead and...
experience
I'm
leveling.
going to stop you there. I'm going to go ahead and quote Brennan Lee Mulligan on why Milestone is way better than XP, and why I think it's better for the homebrew campaigns people make.
Mhm.
If you do, like, a pre-built campaign,
Yep.
maybe XP ain't that bad, right?
Mhm.
But for homebrew,
Yep.
XP is horrible. Let me explain. You have level 1 adventures
Yep.
start a session,
Mhm.
and they go, let's go kill some goblins.
Mhm.
Cool. Hey, I want to see if there's more goblin camps throughout this entire country. Oh, okay, you'll have to explore. And they spend the first 10 sessions eradicating every goblin
Uh-huh.
in a continent.
Yep.
And now the big bad is sitting there by his orb, plotting, and he's like, hey, what do you know about these guys? They came out of nowhere, and now they're gods. That's nuts to me. In the span of 4 weeks in game, they go from a zero to... They pull a whole Hercules montage. They go 0 to hero, slaying every goblin in the realm. And now you have a paladin that becomes an angel at level 20 if you go all the way, right? You have a wizard who was literally no one. They were a fucking... Oh, excuse me. I'm trying not to swear as much. But I'm gonna roll with it. They were a fucking boy in a closet under a stairwell a week ago, and now they're head of the Ministry of Magic. 4 weeks later, you have a fighter running a guild, and you have a rogue in charge of the Thieves Guild in Riften.
Can I bring up a very topical counter argument to this?
Sure.
So you're saying that it narratively is better to do milestones. Because,
Narratively, it is better.
Okay, so I will counter that.
Mhm.
We did milestones when you were in my campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much of the narrative did you guys complete for the first, ever?
We completed a lot.
Really, you completed a lot.
But
of
here's
the
the
narrative?
thing, though.
No, stop! Don't do that! Don't do that! Because I have a point to make.
Then make it.
You guys ignored the entire narrative for the first 150 days of in-game time of this, right?
You played bad guys.
No. You ignored that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I were to use your logic here and say that narratively you should only be using milestones,
Mm-hmm.
you would have been level 1 forever.
Yeah, no, I see your point there, but I think that's where, the DM, for that example, and you still made it work. We still leveled up based off of
It was
different
fun.
interactions.
It was fun. I'll hand you that. However, that was a choice that I made to give you guys a sense of progress, because I wanted to just build you guys a world and have you guys just let loose in it, and that was what I
Right.
got. I was the architect of my own demise on that.
And you destroyed the world.
But for what you're saying from a narrative perspective, and this is more of a personal thing, forcing the narrative
Mhm.
is not necessarily good or fun.
Right, but what I think, what I'm trying to get at is, why wouldn't, if you do XP, like, I feel like the second XP is brought up, right? Think of it like a video game.
Okay.
Right? XP is brought up. And, like, yeah, maybe in a video game you still progress with the narrative because it railroads you to do that.
Or because the narrative is good and you want to experience it.
That's also true. But, like, here's a good example. Elden Ring.
Yep.
If you didn't find dumb stuff to kill constantly or farm, the game, like...
It's harder.
It is harder.
But a lot of people got enjoyment out of that.
But, like, if you know... And I'm not saying it's not fun, right? Like, watching players slay goblins for 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever could be fun, but I think it just kind of puts a weird dynamic, or, like, I think some players may get hung up in...
And I think that you're actually concerned about a completely separate topic. I don't think it's actually in regards to XP. Because that's meta.
Yeah, it is meta, but as the DM, you have to, like, meta for some things. Like, that's part of your prep, right?
That's players' meta. That's players doing meta.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you have, like, a table, that's fine, but, like...
in session 0, right?
Yeah.
Do not meta. Your XP is not something that your character knows about.
Yeah.
That's something for you as the player.
But I feel like as a player, even if you try really hard not to meta, it's still in the back of your brain.
No, it is, but that's why there needs to be an active, like, level of trying to ignore the meta.
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to stop this conversation before we go on a fourth tangent.
We'll make a longer episode eventually in regards to debating.
Actually, I'm going to plug something real quick.
Oh?
We have a Patreon set up. And for those of you who would like to hear us banter back and forth...
And argue. And
argue between
fight.
Milestone and listen to these tangents, and you want to hear us go on tangents about Milestone versus XP...
And alignment versus non-alignment.
Eventually we will have that episode pulled up on our Patreon. We are still working on price and everything. So we will continue to work on that. And we will say something the episode it is live and available. But that is something we previously discussed, and we tried not to get in a tangent just now about it or an argument, but if I knew it was going to be inevitable.
We will reserve that type of content for something that you guys might, just want elsewhere.
Consider that a
shameless plug.
Free sample. But anyway, on to the next.
Tears of Play.
Yes.
I love this. I love this so much.
I think it's a solid step-by-step plan or expectation for players to have.
And for DMs.
And DMs to know where they should be at and how well the player should be known as a... Because let's be honest, by the end of the campaign, like, if you write homebrew and you use the same world all the time, your players from the previous campaign should be folk heroes.
Or myths.
Legends.
Like, time has...
Folklore.
You can't do things too close to each other.
No, you have to have a gap. But even still, like, there should be... Like, I think Matt Mercer did it in the recent Critical Role. Like, they met, Vex?
Yeah.
Like, in a recent episode. Like, that's cool for players love meeting their old characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or, like, references. It's like little fourth wall breaks.
Yep.
And, this table gives you an idea of where that character should be at. And that's why, during last sessions of campaigns, you go over what's your character do with the rest of their life.
Yep.
Right?
If
and I think that's... Yeah, if they're not dead. But, like, I think that's crucial, and I love that there's a little table for both player and DM to be able to set that expectation. Or, as you write your homebrew campaign, know this is where they're going to be at by this level.
Yep.
And this is why Milestone is easy.
We'll get there.
Go ahead.
I think that the tier system is pretty self-explanatory. It's very good, but it's nice to have.
Yeah.
I think that the table for starting equipment,
yes,
at higher level, that I adore that. That's so good.
Yeah.
Because generally it's just kind of hand wavy. Like, if we're being honest.
I agree. Sometimes you're giving stuff too early. Sometimes you're not.
No. This is for starting level.
Oh.
So if you're starting the campaign at level 5, then you get these things. At level 11, you get these things. I think that's great. Because generally it's hand wavy.
Because
for some adventures, like, how many times have you played with a DM and they're like, oh yeah, you get like 2 common items, and you're starting at like level 15 or 14.
Yeah.
Like, that happens more often than I would like to admit.
I would have to agree with you. And like I've said it once, I'll say it throughout the entirety of this book. I like all the tables they put in here. It makes it easy.
Nice tables. They're laid out perfectly.
Yeah, it makes it nice. It's not too much even. Like, you can scroll through and just like, oh, I'm looking for this. Oh, I'm looking for that.
Yep.
And they highlight them. You know, they're not the like coffee stain looking page. It's a nice blue and light blue.
Yep.
You know where it's at. But yeah, so for those who haven't had the opportunity to go through, Tier 1 is levels 1 through 4. In Tier 1, characters are apprentice adventurers. Your basic, ready to roll. You
can protect a farm.
Yep.
Kinda, sometimes. Depends
it
on
literally
what's
says the
it.
threats they face usually pose a danger to local farmsteads and villages. And each one has the final sentence going over. Level 5 through 10. The characters now face dangers that threaten cities and kingdoms. 11 through 16.
I do think that the end of that, like, I don't think a 4th level adventurer is necessarily the best equipped to defend a village. Same thing for level 10. I don't know if you're going to be the best to defend a kingdom.
Here's
Depending
the
on
thing.
the size, obviously. But
I think it depends on what's coming. If it is an army of orcs, probably not.
Yep.
But like a decent horde of goblins.
Yep.
I mean, because I mean, obviously we play D&D together, right? But like,
I think it also depends on the creativity aspect of it. You can creatively defend against threats that you have no business going up against.
Yeah.
And as long as you can, like, actually formulate a solid plan and, like, make it work, you're good.
You're like, hey, how long?
Yep.
How much prep time do we have?
You know, we are Batman. Prep time.
But yeah, level 11 through 16, these adventurers are often confront threats to whole regions. That Tier 3 is Avenger level threats. Like, that's what it's describing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then 17 to
Not
20.
Avengers Endgame.
No.
17
through 20 is the fate of the world or even the order of the multiverse might hang in the balance during their adventures.
That's Endgame.
That's Endgame. Like, that's cool. Like, that's a sweet little blurb to give the player and the DM an expectation of where the character should be at. And, like, if you don't feel like your character's there, that should open up the door to go speak with your DM about, like, hey, you know, what else can I do? Like, am I doing something wrong? You know, maybe I'm not working as a team well enough with the other players. I don't know.
Or maybe the player isn't
understanding the
familiar
subclass
enough with their class.
Yes. I always recommend for new players running through what your character will look like.
6 or 7 times.
What your character will look like at level 20. Google it. It literally says in the beginning of this book, online has a lot of great resources. Hopefully we become one for you guys, but until we have more stuff out, you know, like, use the resources that are available. D&D Beyond, D&D Wiki, like, there's Pathfinder.
YouTube too, like, there's a lot of people.
There's a lot of great
content.
D&D YouTubers out there that, honestly, I got more information from them than I did going through the DM guide. You know, I think there's a lot of rules that are up for interpretation on purpose.
Well, and then the explanation that people give is sometimes just so illuminating.
Or just like how they read it. like how
Yeah.
they read it, what their feedback is. You know, I love hearing what people do for their players, and I think that speaks volumes over, like, reading a couple pages in a book, being like, this is the rule.
Yep.
Right? I think the rules are meant to be manipulated on purpose. And
No,
it's for the
they
fun
are.
of each person at the table.
If the wording allows for it.
If the wording, yeah, some things are very cut
Some
and dry.
things are very purposefully done, so that way things don't get ruined and broken.
Yes. So,
I love. I'm going to say that a lot during this, because there's so much in this that I do love. I'll get to my hatred on things in future episodes, because there are things. But I love the fact that they bring out all the stops for going through proficiency bonus, hit point dice, that kind of stuff. Because if it's a new player and they haven't gone through this, and you're like, oh, roll for your hit dice.
Yep.
What?
And you don't have the luxury of an
mean?
app.
What are you even talking about? What are hit dice? Like, you, as a DM, I think it's important to, like, really hammer home the fact that you cannot be, like, a step-by-step, every single thing about Dungeons & Dragons, like, I will teach you as players, right? That's not necessarily your job.
Mm-hmm.
They should know what their classes can do. They should know
where they want to take their character.
Things like action economy.
Mm-hmm.
They should know basic things like alignment.
Right.
That is not necessarily your responsibility as the DM. It is your responsibility to make that known, though,
right.
that that's not your responsibility. If you don't do that and you're just expecting them, and they're not seasoned players, that's a little rough.
Right. One thing I love about this chapter, multi-class spellcaster.
Oh, dude, that table, so good, so good.
So,
and the fact that all your levels in Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard are included in that
honestly,
are amazing.
It is such an easy thing to do.
Although, I have a slight issue with it.
Okay.
Warlock isn't included in that.
Interesting.
Did you notice that?
I thought I heard something about it.
It's just not there. Even for Rogue, dude, if when you get a third of your levels in there, Warlocks? No, man.
Wow.
But I think that the reason for that, and we'll cover this when we cover, the changes made to Warlocks, their spellcasting's kind of monstrous now.
Yeah.
Like, it is a time to be a Warlock, dude.
Yeah. And a Ranger.
I hate you so much.
But yeah, the fact that you can multi-class from Bard into Wizard and just continuously rack up your spell slots without hurting your character is awesome. Or even, like, if you go... what I like about the multi-class spellcaster is you can go Eldritch Knight, right? Or the fighter subclass. I think I'm butchering it.
Yeah, Eldritch Knight.
Eldritch Knight.
You got it.
And just actually rip spells and be proficient with the sword. Like, that is what people want to do. Like, you're like,
I think it buffed it in a way that was entirely needed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quality of life stuff that's great here.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff people were kind of already doing.
Yep.
But to see it written out, knowing that we were listened to over the years of 5e, and to see, like, hey, we paid attention, here's the official way, Wizards of the Coast is doing it now. It's nice to actually be heard. Not to mention that sick-ass table of trinkets on page 46.
Bro,
Roll a D100. Pick a trinket.
I like the trinkets, not for the trinkets.
I think it's hilarious. I just think it's funny.
No, I mean, it's great, but, dude, like, I think it's awesome. Like, if you want to, like, it says when you make your character,
Yeah.
right? You gain
How about
a
when
tiny
you
trinket.
loot a body?
Exactly. I think it's great for that. Or if you open, like, a jewelry box or something like that. And you roll weird, and there's a mummified hand in there. I think that's great.
Or how about you knock out a guard, you loot his body, and you roll a 100, and you're like, oh yeah, I got a 100, and it goes, oh, you find a metal urn containing the ashes of a hero. Maybe their dad was their hero.
Or you roll a 52, 2 toy soldiers.
Oof.
Yeah, he's a dad.
One missing a head.
You just hurt somebody's dad. That's super
Like,
rough.
The table of trinkets is...
It's so good. It's just so good. I love it. I think
a petrified mouse.
A massive quality of life update.
Yeah. I'll be honest though, when it came to like you picking, because this is essentially supposed to be like your lucky charm, right? Because every time you make a character, you have to pick they want you to pick a lucky charm.
Stock a room or fill a creature's pockets.
Right.
So I think
Which is nice. That's. I always chose the Lucky Rabbit's foot. Every character I make,
I know,
has a lucky rabbit's foot on it. I don't know why that is. I like the idea of it. I think it's funny. I think it's a good conversation point. You know, if that's like something you make your character out of, which typically I do.
Yep.
It also is to pertain to my own luck, you know.
But I think that from a loot perspective, it can lead to some really fun side quests.
Yeah. Or
because
just like
79, an invitation to a party where a murder happened.
Done.
Murder mystery night? Yeah, let's go, baby.
Yeah,
that's great.
like,
that's awesome.
It's nice, and it's one less thing you have to worry about, and you don't have to scramble. You just flip to the page, roll a die, and then that.
And there
boom,
are
there
tables that you can find online that are, I would argue, a little bit more verbose than this. They have a lot more options.
But this is a nice, very generic.
This is so
just
good.
Basic.
It's just good.
Like, if we lived during the 1300s, like, this is all stuff you'd probably find on someone anyway.
I don't know about that.
I'm gonna assume
a mummified goblin head?
Who knows? A weightless stone. Could be anywhere.
An enormous scale, perhaps from a dragon?
A vial of dragon's blood. Komodo dragons.
I don't think I would have found those in the 1300s, boy.
Maybe. You're not gonna find an old key? No, because it would probably be new at that time, but...
it's a new key. It's not an old key. Yeah, no.
You can find a fan that, when folded, shows a sleepy cat on someone probably right now.
Yep. It's great. I love all of these items. Yeah. I think they're fantastic.
I agree. And that?
Is that it? That is it for this chapter,
isn't it? Thing in chapter 2.
Oh, so, God, this next bit, guys. Okay. To go through our layout for the next little bit here, we're probably going to do an episode on each class.
So...
Like, if some might not need it, but we're probably going to do an episode on each class. We might even do an episode on each subclass. We don't know.
Depending on the goal is to have at least one episode per class. So chapter 3 will definitely be a multi-series, like a mini-series of episodes. And we're just, the way we're trying to set this up for everyone is so that you can follow through the player's handbook
as
it goes.
Maybe get our takes on things. Maybe learn some things.
Page by page.
Catch something that you guys missed. Or you might catch something that we missed.
We are flipping through page by page. Alright. So, our next episode will be deep diving into Barbarian.
Yeah.
And, because that's alphabetical order where we're going to start. So,
I mean, again, right? We might have a topical overview, and then we might start doing some deep dives, episode by episode, into subclasses. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for those. And anything else you want to say to our lovely, lovely listeners / viewers?
That is all I got. for those who are not interested in listening to every single class, like the episodes already have been, we are going to label the episodes on what each one is.
Yep.
So if you were like, I don't care about Barbarian, let's get to the big boys, the bards. Go ahead and skip on through. Maybe that'll be, I love bards. Maybe I'll just completely cut you out and
just do a solo episode for bards.
No, absolutely not. I need someone to rip on.
I would love to complain about
my natural charisma is a 17.
I don't know. I would love to complain about all the situations that bards are just broken.
Yeah, I can't wait to tell you why you're wrong.
Wrong? You've proven me right.
That's true. But yeah, no. So
I think that about covers that, though.
Yeah.
Until next time, you little munchkins.
Stay safe and roll high.
Get out of here.